Hello BookTube, welcome to my channel. I'm Annovella and today I'm filming in the park just at the end of my street. It's only 1 minute walk away because I don't have air conditioning and it's extremely hot. Well, not now because it's early in the morning. There are some kids playing, so I can't be a little distracted, but hey, live with it. So I had a very interesting reading week. I read some very good translated fiction, but also some English fiction and non-fiction. And I'm starting with the non-fiction, that is a Hollywood ending about Harvey Weinstein and the silence, the culture of silence around him. So it was a very interesting read. I read it in 2 sittings. It talks about, of course, what happened to the women, but especially about why people just didn't talk about it and they didn't speak up, especially the famous actors and actresses who clearly knew what was going on. And but normally they are very vocal about everything, about saving wills and politics, and you should be voting this or that. But when it comes to protecting women, silence. Because of course they were protecting their reputation and their career. Because Harvey Weinstein was capable of silencing you and your career. So they kept their mouths shut. For instance, when they had their Miramax production company, Harvey Weinstein his muse was Gwyneth Paltrow. And sometimes he was a little too interested in Gwyneth Paltrow, and at a certain point, her then boyfriend Brad Pitt took Harvey Weinstein aside and threatened him to come out with his behavior. And but after that, he didn't do anything. So Weinstein left Gwyneth Paltrow alone, and everything was okay. They just don't care if it happens to other people. Nobody cares. Absolutely nobody cares. Those 3 women who came forward and risked everything. They are true heroes. They are true heroes because they fought for their own reputation, for their own body, for their well-being. And they went through a lot, but finally they won. But it's the book is really interesting, and it also talks about how his brother was involved and how they fell out, and how he was also known for being a fraud when it comes to money, and it also talks about that, the book. So it's really interesting. It's painful to read, and it's a must read. But on the other hand, while you're reading the book, you realize that things won't change quickly. I don't think so. If a president's candidate says, well, grab them by the pussy, and you still get elected, well, there's no room for improvement, because also women are enablers too, in a way. And as long as we enable, it'll happen. So and then I read briefly A Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. I believe it is a debut. Here it is. It has a weird premise, a very promising premise. It's about a young girl who died in somewhere the 14th century or 15th century, can't remember, doesn't matter. She's dead for a very long time, and she's a ghost now. And she is the narrator of the story. And she lives, or she resides, or she wanders around in a convent that has been abandoned, that is no longer a religious building. And now it resides people who want to stay there for a while to work or to study or to write or whatever. And at a certain point, there's a couple moving in with a child and or 2 children. I can't remember. Not important. And it is Chopin and George Sand. George Sand, of course, is a female writer who sometimes dresses up as a man to be not exactly for the reasons we have now. It's more. It was more to be taken seriously by her male writers, and so she has a love affair with Chopin. And the ghost falls in love with George Sand, and we take off from there. Now, a lot of people found it very sensual, which it is, tactile also, but for me, it didn't work 100%. I've read, but maybe that's my fault in a way, or George Sand's fault. I've read a lot of letters that George Sand wrote to her daughter, and she came across as very unlikable and very egoistical. It didn't work for me because I had already this vision of George Sand as a not very likable person, and the writer Nell, she made her quite loving and very caring, and in her letters she doesn't come across as very caring. So yeah, it didn't work for me. So I wasn't probably the best. I'm probably not the best person to talk about this book. On the other hand, it is really well written. It is an excellent. I believe it's a debut. It's excellent. I really want to read more of her work when she writes more. The premise is very interesting, and I really loved the point of view. The prose is absolutely tactile and very luscious and very, quite erotic even. So yeah, it's a really interesting book. You also find out how the girl died at the age of 14, what the reason was, and how it all happened. And so yeah. It's interesting. If you haven't read the letters like me, you'll love this book. I'm pretty sure. So there was a bit of conflict. It was too recent since I read that book with the letters. So yeah, there you go. But it's a good read. Enjoy it. Then the next book was I've read also Les Fleurs de Mal by Charles Baudelaire. Really beautiful. Oh, but you can't. I'm not very good person to talk about poetry. It's so. I love Baudelaire since I was a teenager, and I don't know. It always touches my heart. So yeah. Then I read Out of Africa by Karen Blixen. Out of Africa was written in Danish, so it's translated fiction. And before I read the book, I thought it was going to be like the movie, with the washing of the hair in the in the desert, or what is it? But it wasn't like that at all. Karen Blixen is a stunning writer in the sense that she really knows how to cultivate Africa, or the part where she lived. It's a non-fiction book, actually. She writes about the people she works with, and she writes about the people that come and visit her. To take, because she has a sort of a first aid post, and so she treats the African people, and but she talks with so much love and so much care and so much respect for the people. It is truly a masterpiece. This book blew me away. I expected a very romantic sort of book, which it was in a way, but it was a romance in the sense of love for the continent and love for the people, and yeah, it was beautiful, beautiful. Sometimes the wording is a bit outdated, and it comes across as really harsh, and if you are very sensitive for those things, don't read it. But if you can place it in the time frame, you will really enjoy this book. It's a must-read if you love Africa. I've been to Africa a couple of times, and I really love the continent. I really, I really enjoy it, and it's a very overwhelming experience, and she knows how to describe it to the T. So yeah, try it, absolutely try it. Then I read The Meursault Investigation by Kamel, Daoud. If you have ever read the book The Stranger by Camus, this is the story from the man who got killed. So Moussa is the name of the person who got killed, and the narrator is the brother of Moussa, and he talks about how they suffered after the death of their brother and son, how the mother suffered, how they coped with his death, and what they did because of his death. And but it's also very well written. It's a tour de force to write a companion novel to The Stranger, which is already world famous and loved by everyone. But he did it so well that he won the Prix Goncourt, I believe, in France as being the best novel. So yeah, that was beautiful. Then, Cardinality by Lina Wolff. What a book, what a book. I really love the cover. I really love it. So, Carnality. It's translated by Frank Perry, and he did an excellent job, I believe. So Lina Wolff is a Swedish writer, and she lived for a long time in Spain and Italy, and this book is about an author who got a fee to write about a certain subject, and she took the money and went to from Sweden to Madrid, I believe, to do her writing there, so she could focus on her writing. Within the first couple of days, she hires a little apartment, and within the first couple of days she meets a sweaty guy in a sort of a bar, or not really a bar, more a brasserie type of thing. And the sweaty guy comes up to her and he says, please help me, I'm on the run for a TV show and they want to kill me, and can I stay a couple of days with you? And she takes him in. Around the guy, there's like, there's so many red flags. There are more red flags around him than in a in a North Korean parade. But hey, she takes him in. And this book is such a weird, wild ride. It's so bizarre and so fun. And so, wait, what? Wait, what did I just read? And it's so he is on the run for a TV show, or not, it's an internet show actually. It's an online thing called Cardinality, and the host is a 94-year-old nun who is missing a thumb. And it's so weird. You know, if you love movies like Almodovar, like the one where he a plastic surgeon, the protagonist, kidnaps the murderer of his wife, I believe, and he changes him into her, you know. It has nothing to do with the book, but it has the same weird vibe. I constantly was thinking this is a book that Almodovar would make a great film of. That is, it's an Almodovar film. So if you love that kind of stuff, this is a book for you. It's so weird. It's difficult to explain what I have read. That it's a wild, wild ride. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. At the beginning I had to, when I was like at page 80 and something happened, I had to go back to the first couple of pages to really grasp everything. But even that was a joy, because I discovered more and more stuff. I had so much fun reading it. It's just so over the top that it's relevant again, you know? Yeah. Highly recommend. 5 stars. 5 stars. This is... Yeah. I have to recuperate from this one. This is a memoir. Consent. It's... Kate Elizabeth Russell, the author of My Dark Vanessa, calls it a gut punch of a memoir with prose that cuts like a knife. And that's perfect. The way she wrote it, that's absolutely correct how she describes it. So, Vanessa Springora is a well-known figure in France. And at the age of 13, she lives in a dysfunctional family, of course. They always do. And at the age of 13, she meets a famous writer. I will put up a picture of him. And he grooms her. And the famous writer is a well-known pedophile. He is known as a pedophile. He writes about his sexual encounters with children from the age of 8. And it is considered as art by everyone, even the French president at the time. He gets a lot of awards and everything, and everybody, it's an artiste. So when you're an artist, apparently, you can do everything. And so she gets groomed by the author. He puts her on a pedestal. Of course, they perfectly know how to groom a child, because they know immediately what the weaknesses are of those children. An absent father. And he puts her on a pedestal. And he lets her confuse sex with true love. A 13-year-old, 14-year-old doesn't know the difference between, doesn't know the how do you call it, the impact of sex at such an age mentally. And so he educates her, and he has basically a relationship with her, but you can't call that a relationship. Then her mother knows. She agrees. Not at the beginning, but she agrees. Because he's a famous writer. The school knows. They agree. Nothing does anything about it. The fellow writers agree. Nobody reacts. The police knows. Even the police knows. Didn't do anything. And at the beginning of the relationship, the girl was very happy because there was a man that loved her and showed his love to her, had sex with her. And so she felt like a woman and she felt complete. But then, while she was getting older, like a year older, her mind starts to develop too, and she starts to realize that what he did to her wasn't love. And then she finds his books, and in his books he describes his sexual encounters with boys of 8 years old in the Philippines, and his love affairs with other girls that are 13, 14. He was even on a television show with her. Nobody did a thing. Nobody. There were authors, famous authors. I will put their names up because I'm so furious, that signed a sort of a petition for people to have sexual relations with children under the age of 15. Famous female authors. I will put their names up. It's madness. It's infuriating. Then finally, she ended the relationship, which he could never accept. He stalked her for 30 years. 30 years. She had horrible relationships after that. Because she didn't know what an adult relationship was. And finally now she has a husband and a lovely teenage son, and the husband really helped her heal. And I'm glad that she did. And I'm also glad that she wrote this book because it's so important. So important. This is an amazing book, and it's really well written. It's always with love for the teenager. And I'm glad that she doesn't think she is responsible, because she isn't. She was a child. She was a child. It's not because you have almost the body of an adult that you are an adult and that you can make good choices. It is heartbreaking, but a must read. And I was overwhelmed by it. And also the tactics of grooming, it's flabbergasting. But especially the people around her that didn't protect her. Nobody protected her. No teacher, no friend. She lost all her friends because, of course, they isolate him. They take him away of the groomer takes her away of all the influences, the positive influences she might have. So nobody took a stand for her. She had to do it by herself. Poor girl. Poor girl. So yeah. That was this week's read. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you the next time.